Okay, so the next example I'm going to look at is number 9. What I want you guys to focus on this one is notice how we always have the b pulled out in parentheses from x minus h, and this b value has not been pulled out. It has not been divided out. So we're going to have to rewrite this one. I'm going to rewrite it just on the top here. So f of x equals 1 plus 2 sine. Okay, now there's the b value. It's 2 pi over 3. But what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to divide it out of these two terms. So 2 pi over 3 divided by x, or rather 2 pi over 3x divided by 2 pi over 3, it's just going to be x minus, now when we have to do pi over 6 divided by 2 pi over 3, well, we can do pi over 6 times the reciprocal, which is 3 over 2 pi instead of 2 pi over 3. You'll see the pi's cancel, and then we get 3 over 12, or we can simplify 3/6 as 1/2. So that's going to be 1 over 2 times 2, which is 1/4. So this is x minus 1/4. Okay? And in case you're not sure about that, you can distribute 2 pi over 3 times the 1/4. And if you do 2 pi over 3 times a 1/4, then you're going to get this to simplify pi over 6, which is that value right there. So it works out very nicely. Okay, so now that we've written it out, the format that it should be in, now I'm going to fill out the a value, b value, h value, and k value. That's just kind of keeping myself organized to graph. So the a value is the amplitude, which is the number in front of sine. That's 2. Again, the amplitude is 2. The b value is the 2 pi over 3. 2 pi over 3. The h value, so be careful, the h value is not pi over 6. It's 1/4. And the k value looks like it's that value in the front, which is just 1. Don't forget the formula for period. Period is 2 pi over b. So 2 pi over our b value in this case was 2 pi over 3. I'm going to go ahead and multiply the reciprocal, 3 over 2 pi. It's kind of nice because the 2 pi's cancel and we're just left with 3. So the period is 3. And then remember, to find the tick width, you have to take the period and divide it by 4. So period divided by 4, so it'll be 3/4. Okay? And then the first tick mark is always your h value. So our h value in this case is 1/4. And then we're going to add 1/4 plus the tick width. So 1/4 plus 3/4 is 4/4, which is 1, 4/4. And then 4/4 plus 3/4 is 7/4. 7/4 plus 3/4 is 10/4, which is 5/2. 10/4 plus 3/4 is 13/4. And there are our tick marks: 1/4, 1, 7/4, 5/2, and 13/4. Okay. Now remember, you always want to have those 3 lines because the middle one is our k value. So our k value is 1. And then the amplitude is 2. So that means we're going to go up 2. So that'll be at 3. Down 2 will be at -1. Which means 0 will be right here. Right in the middle. There's my 0. And I'm going to put my y-axis just kind of right here. So there's my x-axis and my y-axis. Now I'm going to write down the tick marks. The first tick mark was 1/4. Then it went to 1. Then it went to 7/4. 5/2. And then last but not least, 13/4. So now that I have the coordinates, looks like I've labeled the x-axis, the y-axis. And now I gotta do sine. So sine, remember, sine started at the origin. Well, sine starts on the first tick mark, it starts in the middle. So sine starts in the middle. And if it's a positive sign, then we're going to go up. So the next coordinate is 1, 3. Then we're going to go back down to the middle, down to the minimum. So at 5/2 it's at -1, and then back to the middle. And just like that, we're going to create the curves. And there you have it. That's one period of sine. Oh. Okay. I can try one more example with you guys. Number 10. So let's do this one rather quickly too. Okay, so look at that. Double check my work. But let's look at one more example. Notice the b value is not divided out again. So we're going to do 3 minus 2 sine. We're going to take out that b value, which is 2. So we got to do pi over 6 divided by 2, which will be pi over 12. In case you're not sure how I did that, pi over 6 divided by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal, 1/2. So that's pi over 12. All right, now that we've written the correct format, we're going to fill in all the pieces. So the a value, notice this time the a value is -2. But the amplitude is just always going to be a positive value. So take the absolute value of -2. That'll just be 2. The b value, remember, is what we pulled out, so that's 2. The h value, notice this time it's a positive, so we're going to have to do the opposite, which is -pi over 12. Okay, because remember, this is the new h value, not pi over 6. And then the k value is the number in the front, which is 3. All right, period. What's the formula for period? 2 pi over b. So 2 pi over the b value. 2 pi over b, and the b value in this case is 2. So that's just going to be 1 pi. 2 pi over 2 is pi. The tick width is your period divided by 4. So in this case, it's pi over 4. Because our period is pi, and divided by 4 is pi over 4. The first tick mark is always your h value, which is -pi over 12. Then we're going to have to add the period, which is pi over 4. I'm sorry, add the tick width, which is pi over 4. So -pi over 12 plus pi over 4. Let's get a common denominator. That's 12 times 3. That's going to be negative, or positive, sorry, 2 pi over 12, which is pi over 6. So this one's pi over 6. And then we're going to add to that the tick width again, pi over 4. Let's get a common denominator. I think they can both be 12s. This will be 2 pi over 12 plus 3 pi over 12, which is 5 pi over 12. So 5 pi over 12, and then we're going to add again the tick width, pi over 4. Common denominator should give us 8 pi over 12, which simplifies to, they both have 4, 2 pi over 3. And last but not least, we're going to add one more time, pi over 4. And you know, I'm going to keep it back as the 8 12s. This is 12, this is 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 pi over 12. There it is. Okay. So those are our tick marks. And let's go ahead and put them on the graph. Now I want to put my y-axis a little bit more here. The reason I want to put it a little more centered is because I see I have a negative, so I'm going to start on the left side of the y-axis. Don't forget the middle is the k value, the sinusoidal axis, which is 3. And my amplitude is 2. So I'm going to go up 2, which is 5, and down 2, which is 1. Which means my x-axis is going to be right here. There's my x-axis. And I'm going to write my tick width, or I'm sorry, my tick marks, which the first one is -pi over 12, pi over 6, should have a little more space, 5 pi over 12, 2 pi over 3, and 11 pi over 12. All right, sorry about the spacing, but those are my coordinates. And then we are doing sine. So remember, sine starts in the middle. This is the middle graph, middle of the graph. But notice it's negative. So instead of going up to 5, we're going to go down to 1. Then back up to the middle, up to the max, down to the middle. You're going to create the curve just like that. And that is 1 period of sine. All right, try some on your own. Take these examples, use those formulas that I taught, and help one another out. All right? All right.